Hi, this is Janice from Space to Relax, and the video you're about to watch is a replay of a live class I taught on Zoom. These classes are free of charge for everyone to join, so please invite your family and friends. They're suitable for beginners and those of you with more Qigong experience. If you're watching this video on YouTube, then please don't forget to hit the red subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos from me. I hope you enjoy the class. Welcome to the class today, everybody. And today's class is all about how you can use Qigong when you're standing in a queue. Now, I think we've all been standing in queues at one time or another in our lives, whether that be a queue in the supermarket, the post office, whether it be waiting in a queue at the airport. And I think you'll agree that standing in queues is often it's regarded as a bit of a waste of time. It can be quite frustrating. It can be quite irritating, and it can leave you feeling quite impatient if you want the queue to kind of move along faster than it is actually moving. And also, you can also find that if you're standing in a queue for a long time, you may start to experience some pain or stiffness or tension in your body, especially maybe shoulders, lower back, going down through into the knees and the ankles. So if we can make use of Qigong and really work with some movements, with some breath and using your mind in order to alleviate any impatience and actually make some use of that time while we're waiting, and also be able to stand in a way that doesn't involve any creation of stiffness or pain or tension, then all the better. So the solution to queue standing is actually to use the correct posture when you're standing, and also use some very kind of small, almost invisible movements, because obviously you're not going to go into a full Qigong routine if you're in a queue and lots of other people are looking at you. So we can do lots of small movements and use the breath and the mind in order to help us. And by doing this, what will happen is we can create the conditions whereby we unblock any stagnation of Qi or energy which might be causing tension or stiffness in the physical body. We can use the breath to bring in more oxygen so that we feel more energized and maybe don't get so tired when we're standing in the queue. And also that breath can, in conjunction with the mind, bring down any kind of emotional irritation from the brain, down from the head into the lower abdomen area, to really help to calm and clear the mind, leaving us with a little bit more focus, a bit more clarity and more concentration. So we need never waste time when we're standing in a queue, I guess, is the main message from today's class. So it's not a routine as such, it's more showing you a selection of different things that you can be doing in order to find a way to stand in a queue with the least amount of effort and to be actually doing some Qigong practice at the same time. So I would say to you, watch through, follow along with this class today, but then you might just want to pick one or two things to try the next time you're standing in a queue. When we're standing in a queue, what we want to do is make sure that we're standing correctly. And often, and I'd like you to observe this next time you are in a queue, look at the person in front of you and see how they're standing. And often what you find is that they're standing to one side like this, or they've got their legs crossed like this, or they're somehow just out of balance. Their weight is not distributed evenly on their feet. So that's very bad for your posture, because it's obviously putting stress on one side or the other of your body, whether it be legs kind of going up into the upper back and maybe the shoulders as well. So the first thing to do when you're standing in a queue is to make sure that you're standing in your Qigong stance, in your Qigong posture. So if you can distribute your weight evenly and be in this lovely Qigong stance that some of you have practiced with me already, then you'll know that this helps to create the conditions for smooth and unobstructed flow of Qi throughout the whole body. So when your Qi or your energy is flowing smoothly, all the different systems in your body, both physical and emotionally wise, they're all connected together anyway, and they start to communicate in a much more free and open way. So that can only be good in terms of balancing your health and elevating your energy levels and calming your mind at the same time. So let's start with that. So firstly, from your standing position, look down at your feet. Make sure that the feet are parallel if possible. If not, if you feel there's some restriction around the hip area by having the feet running parallel, then what I would say is turn them out to the sides, just a very tiny bit, not quite, maybe not quite that much, just a little bit, okay? Now, from here, what you want to do is make sure the knees are nice and soft. So also the knees are running at about hip width distance apart, up from the feet, so stacked on top of the feet, not allowing the knees to come out or to fall in, because you're putting pressure then on the sides of the knees. So have the knees in line with the feet. And then what I'd like you to do is tuck your pelvis forwards and lift up in the abdomen. So just to show you from the side, if what you want to do is imagine you've got a bar stool behind you here and you're trying to pop up and just sit on the edge of the bar stool. And in order to do that, what you have to do is you have to kind of tuck everything in and bring it forwards and lift up a little bit just to get up to that height. And by doing that, this creates a lovely kind of openness in the lower back area. So that's the hip and the lower back area, and then just nice and loose and relaxed in the shoulders. Shaking out the arms. And then tuck the chin back towards the throat. So drawing the chin in, and again, I'll show you from the side. So if the chin is out too far, then you need to bring it back in a little. Tucking it back towards the throat. Just coming back here. Okay, so now we're standing and we're nice and straight. And what you want to do now from here is close the eyes for a moment, close the mouth, breathing in and out through the nose. The tongue is resting against the roof of the mouth and the tip of the tongue resting against the back of the upper teeth. Bring a smile to the corners of your mouth. And now we're going to get taller. So keeping the eyes closed, bring your mind to the soles of your feet. Feel the connection of the soles of your feet with the floor or the ground. Feel the ground almost coming up to meet your feet, giving you a good stable anchor. So you feel nice and balanced. And then moving your mind up through the legs, through the knees. There's a soft bend in the knees, but not bending too much so that you put any pressure on the thigh muscles. Coming up through the thighs, through the hips. And then as you move up through the torso, elevate the rib cage. So lifting in the rib cage a little bit, rather than slumping. Feel some space between your belly button and your solar plexus. So really just creating a little bit more space by lifting up in the ribs. And then lifting up in the back of the neck. And to do that, just again, drawing the chin back towards the throat and feeling that lovely extension up the back of the neck. And then in your mind, see an invisible string pulling your head up through the back of the neck, all the way up through the center line of the back of the head, out the top of the head, as though you're being held up. So feeling nice and tall. And then gently opening the eyes. So that's just a very simple thing you can do while you're standing. No one would ever see you doing that. You can do that with the eyes open. So that's the first tiny little minute movements. So feeling that connection with the ground, then elevating in the rib cage, but not allowing the ribs to flare outwards. It's almost as though you're pulling the rib cage up from the inside. Just getting a little bit taller there. And then also drawing the chin back towards the throat to feel lovely elevation up the back of the neck. Now, the other thing you can do when you're standing in the queue, another little movement, are these very small little finger flicks. So if I'm just standing, I can just flick my fingers like this. So showing you at the front, all I'm doing is this. Now that can be a tiny, tiny movement. Say you're, standing and if you're in a very busy place, people tend not to notice these things anyway. But if you're somewhere where maybe there's a couple of people and you think, oh, they're going to wonder what I'm doing this, you can make the movement very small. And when you flick the fingers, what we're going to do is combine this movement with the breath and the mind. So you're going to take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, you're going to flick the fingers. So just have a go at that. So breathe in, and as you breathe out, flick the fingers. And each time you breathe out, give the fingers a little flick. One more time with the breath. Now bringing the third element of Qigong into this, the mind. So you're going to flick the fingers, exhale, and at the same time, think of getting rid of any waste qi, any waste energy, anything that doesn't feel quite so good from your body. So breathing in, and as you flick, it's as though you're flicking off dirt from the ends of your fingers. This is especially good as a practice if you're in a very stuffy environment where you're standing in the queue, if the air is not so good, or if the person standing next to you doesn't smell so good. This is a really good protection of your own energy level, just to keep everything at bay. So you can use it if the environment is not good, to almost to kind of prevent you from absorbing any waste qi, any bad qi, and just keep flicking it away off the fingers as you exhale. So that's a really simple little tip that you can do. I also use that actually when I'm walking. If I'm out and about and somebody's on the street, if I pass someone on the street and they're smoking a cigarette, I don't want to inhale the smoke. So I'll breathe out and flick my fingers at the same time as I walk past them. And they never know that happens because they pass me by the time it's done. So really, really useful little tip. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is a little bit of movement around the hips. Now you can make this as big or as small as you want. So the one movement in my paid membership program that some of you, if you're members, you'll have done it in the E-tie stretches, and it's a little pivot around the sacrum. So if you imagine your spine is here, this is your spine, and what you've got is your sacrum at the bottom of the spine. So it's going to pivot around the spine. Here's the sacrum, here's the spine, and there's going to be a pivot around here. And that can be as large or as small as you want. And what that does is it mobilizes the qi in the lower back area, really helps to keep everything loose and open. So it's especially good for anyone with who gets a kind of stiff lower back if you're standing for any period of time. So you can make it a large movement. So, really like a big kind of hip circle if you want, and go the other direction. Or you can make it this tiny sacral pivot and almost imagine it's just spinning on a very, very tiny little circle. So just close your eyes for a moment now. Maybe start with small circles and just circling, and think of that junction between the very base of the spine and the sacrum. And then maybe allow that circle to become a little larger if you're still comfortable in the lower back area. And then change the direction. Circling, and maybe allow the circles now to come a little smaller, back to that sacral pivot. Keeping the mind in the lower back area. And just breathing in and out through the nose. And then opening the eyes. So again, that's a really useful one to do standing in a queue. You can make that circle as large or small as you want, so that anybody who's maybe standing behind you would never see you were doing it, especially if you're doing it that very small sacral pivot. And what you're doing there by using the mind as well is, as I said, you're mobilizing the qi in this circle. You can almost, as well as you do it, imagine the qi spiraling down through both legs into the ground through the soles of your feet. So the next thing we're going to do is maybe stand with the legs a little bit further apart. Now again, this is, if you're in a queue, this is perfectly fine. A lot of people would stand like this. And all you're going to do is just shift the weight from one side to the other. Now, as you do this, go nice and slowly, just breathing normally. Bring your mind to the depths of your hip joints. So maybe close your eyes if you're comfortable and you feel balanced. Just swaying from one side to the other and feel the hip joints being lubricated by that movement. You might also, if you want to go a little bit wider with the feet, and again, if you don't want this to look too weird in a queue, but if you have the opportunity to do this, if you go a little bit wider, what you'll also feel is a little bit of a stretch into the groin area as well. So keeping the body upright and just moving from one side to the other. Very gently, not putting any stress or strain on your body, especially if you have any issues with hips or lower back or knees. So I've actually straightened my knees for this. I don't have a bend in the knees. You can keep the bend, but if you have the bend, you don't get as much benefit around the hip area and into the groins. So I would just straighten my knees a little bit for this one and just keep going, to swaying from side to side at your own pace and breathing normally. But when you're doing this and you're in a queue, your mind is in your hip joints. Okay, so you're using the mind as well, thinking of everything, just being really dynamic in the hip area, lots of blood, fluid, circulation coming in to lubricate your hip joints. And then resting again, stepping back together. Okay, and the last little movement we're going to do now is just coming up onto the ball of the foot and just circle your ankles. So this doesn't look too weird, because if you're in a queue, somebody might just say, oh, they're just having a little stretch out here, and ankle circles don't look too strange. But again, with your mind, what you want to do is put your mind in the middle, right in the depths of your ankle joints as you do this. Same kind of thing as with the hips, and think of lovely lubrication, circulation coming into the area to mobilize the whole of the ankle joint. And then swap to the other side. And change the direction. And then coming back just to your Qigong stance. So maybe again, just looking down at the feet. And little bend in the knees, close the eyes. Smiling. And just feeling into the physical body now. Observing any sensations. Now opening the eyes. So that just shows you a few movements, very small movements that you can do. Nobody would ever notice them. You're doing them in a queue. It's really practical. It's really easy. So you wouldn't necessarily do these movements as a specific Qigong routine when you're not in a queue, but although you could, absolutely. But this is a really good way in order to practice Qigong in that kind of idea of doing Qigong 24 hours a day, really integrating it into your day. And for anyone who says they don't have time to do Qigong, these little movements are perfect because you can do them anywhere. You could even do them, say, if you were at some kind of social event, like maybe a wedding where there's a lot of people are standing around for a long period of time. You can be doing some of these small movements, totally integrated into your day, and nobody would ever know about them. The second thing we're going to move on to now is using the breath. So standing again, looking down at your feet, making sure that you have this parallel arrangement of the feet, hip width distance apart, running up through the knees and the hips, nice and loose in the shoulders, chin tucked back towards the throat. And close your eyes. The tongue is resting against the roof of the mouth, tip of the tongue resting against the back of the upper teeth. And the chin is pulled back towards the throat, lovely length in the back of the neck, and smiling. Now, with the eyes closed, again, just bring your mind into the lower belly. So as you breathe in, feel the belly expand as though you're blowing up an imaginary balloon. And then as you breathe out, what I'd like you to do is feel the belly shrinking. And as it shrinks, see the breath in your mind's eye going down the legs, all the way down into the feet and into the ground. So breathing in, feeling the belly expand, and breathing out, exhaling down and out through the feet. So see the breath, almost like a jet of steam coming out the soles of your feet and going into the ground. So this is a lovely breathing exercise using your mind. You're not really moving, so it's perfect for when you're in a queue. Nobody will know that you're doing this. And you can do it with your eyes open or closed. So it makes no difference. I think perhaps with your eyes closed to begin with until you get used to this idea of exhaling down through the soles of the feet. So just a few more rounds of that in your own time. Really feeling the connection of the soles of the feet with the ground. The ground is holding you up. Feeling balanced and grounded. And as you're exhaling down through the feet, don't be tempted to let your body slump forwards because we're thinking of sinking. We don't want the upper body to sink. We really only want to sink everything from the hips downwards. So keeping the neck nice and long, shoulders relaxed. And now bringing your mind back to your lower belly. So breathing in, feel the belly expand. And now just breathing out normally, just seeing the breath coming back up through the center of the chest and exhaling out through the nostrils, using a normal abdominal breath. And keeping this nice relaxed posture and breathing, gently open the eyes so you can see me. And we're going to move through next from the head all the way down into the toes. And as we do this, it's a little body scan. We're going to scan down, identify any areas of tension. And once you've done that, we're going to then come back to those areas of tension coming from the top down through the body in your own time. And as you relax, as you feel the areas of tension, as you identify them, you're going to breathe out and imagine, say you've got tension in the shoulder or the top of the arm here. You're going to imagine that area relaxing, but not only relaxing, but expanding in all directions. So up and down, sideways, back and front. So seeing that area relaxing, softening, and dissolving. So I'm going to talk you through the first part, and then I'm going to leave you to work with your own individual areas of tension for a few minutes. So firstly, closing the eyes and bring your mind to the very top of your head. Breathing normally in and out using your abdominal breath. So from the top of the head, scan down through the face, through the back of the head, sides of the head, past the ears, all the way down into the neck, back and front, and sides of the neck, and then into the shoulders, running down through both arms, paying attention to any areas of tension, stiffness, soreness that you might feel, down towards the elbows, into the forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers. And then from the chest, down through the front of the body and down through the back of the body, the upper back and the chest area, scanning down through the abdomen and through the lower back, down towards the buttocks and the hips, into the thighs, front and back, and sides of the legs, down into the knees, through the calves and the shins, to the ankles, to the soles of the feet, tops of the feet, into all the toes. Keeping your eyes closed, bring your mind back to the top of your head. Now, in your own time, slowly work down through the body, just like you did then, identifying any areas of tension. And each time you exhale, think of that area relaxing and expanding in all directions, softening and dissolving. And you can spend as many breaths as you want, relaxing that area. And then once you feel the tension has eased a little bit, maybe move on to the next area. If you have no tension at all and your body feels completely relaxed right now, you don't feel any areas of difficulty or discomfort, then just scan down through the whole body and just relax and expand all of those different body parts as you go down as a general relaxation. So beginning now, and I'll give you a few minutes to work with that, starting at the head. And we'll do this in silence. And if you're not quite there yet, just moving the mind gently down towards the soles of the feet. And then bringing the mind back into the lower abdomen, placing one hand flat over the lower belly, the other hand directly over that, keeping the eyes closed. And to finish, just circling by giving your belly a little rub in one direction and then in the other to seal in all the lovely chi or energy you've been working with. Still with the eyes closed, bring the hands together in front of you and rub them until they get really, really hot. Feel that warmth in the palms of the hands. And then placing one palm over each eye, fingers facing up towards the ceiling. Feeling the warmth from the palms of your hands, traveling through the eyes, out the back of the eyes, to nourish the mind. And then gently bringing yourself back into the room by rubbing your face, a little face wash, face massage, as you gently open the eyes. And allow the hands just to come back down by your sides. So hopefully those tips and different movements, different breathing exercises will give you a few ideas as to what you can be trying the next time you're standing in a queue, so that you can relieve any physical tension or stiffness, and also any emotional impatience or frustration from having to wait in a queue. So there's always plenty to be doing. There's no kind of idle time when you have Qigong at your disposal, because you can practice it anywhere. You can practice it invisibly. Nobody will necessarily see what you're doing. So many of the movements, the breath work and the mind are quite subtle. So I hope that gives you some ideas to try. Try one or two of them the next time you're standing in a queue. And I hope you enjoyed the class today, everyone. If you have any questions, please email me. My email is janice@spacetorelax.com, or you can leave a comment on our free Facebook page, which is Space to Relax Free Qigong Group. It's actually a group. So I'd love you to join and see you over there. Also, these classes are free of charge, but if you would like to donate to say thank you, half of the donation money goes towards the ICU nurses in my local hospital. The other half goes towards the upkeep of this website. And as you can see, Qigong exercises are really quite simple, so they're very suitable for beginners. So if you have friends or family or children, anyone who wants to join, then please send them the link to this. And there are, I think, 3 more classes after this one before we finish up for Christmas. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I hope to see you in the next class.
If you enjoyed this Qigong lesson, then there are 4 things you can do right now. The first thing is to head over to my website, which is spacetorelax.com, and there you'll see that you can join up for a free 3-part video series. The second thing you can do is click the link next to this video to sign up for the live Qigong classes, as I teach these once a week. The third thing you can do is go over to Facebook if you're on Facebook and look for Space to Relax Free Qigong Group. That's my free group where you can post any questions, and please do join the group. And the fourth thing is, if you're watching this video on YouTube, then please hit the red subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos from me. I really hope you enjoyed this lesson and look forward to seeing you in the next video.